Now hit record.
Okay. Anybody remember this shirt?
We're here. Yes,
Yeah.
I remember it from such places as my closet.
It's weird because, I'm not saying that.
Hey, Cameron's old shirt.
I'm not saying
He
I got
stole
the
my
same
shirt.
shirt as you, but this shirt is definitely not my size.
No, it's probably not my size either.
Why?
I got that from Portland. I got that from Portland from Powell's.
No.
So literally,
I'm just
you're
kidding.
wearing Cameron's old shirt.
Well, nobody on the replay of this, nobody watching this on the upload will know this, but we're live streaming into Facebook, into the exclusive self-perfected Facebook group page. So,
Hey.
and for those of you who are listening live,
There's 3 people watching, guys.
oh boy, look at that.
What the
We've already
hell?
got more
Uh-oh.
viewers
So-
right now
so-
than our average episode. This is
Here's the thing.
unprecedented.
Guys, here's the thing. This was completely unannounced. We did not tell anybody about this, but we already have 3 viewers. I just want you to think about that influence for a moment.
Think about the magnitude.
right.
Okay.
Leave a
Up here.
comment. Leave a comment if you're live and you're not a bot.
Yes.
Okay. So couple ground rules. Okay. Let's do some housekeeping. Okay. Let's get some
Housekeeping.
no, but what I'm going to say is just if you
Housekeeping.
are listening on the, no, I don't want a mint on my pillow. Thank you. If you are going to be on the chat, you can put chats, and we've got the lovely Christine. Am I saying it right?
Christine.
It's Christine, guys. Come on.
Christine.
Come on.
I call her Sea Dog. We got her.
That's why we
Sea
don't know her
Dog's
name.
Sea Dog's in the house,
Yeah.
and you
Ian
can't
calls
see
me
her.
Sea Champ.
Sea Champ. You can't see her, but you can feel her, just like
In
the
your
Holy
hearts.
Spirit.
Oh, we got
Yeah.
Kristen, Isabel. I saw Pamela. Give us a thumbs up. All right.
Keep giving those thumbs up the whole time. Stop! Don't let your finger stop clicking.
The way this podcast runs is based off energy. So you have to give us a constant flow of comments, hearts, wows, laughy faces, likes. Mitch is shaking his head. Yes.
Like
No, I'm
Max
feeling
would
the
say.
energy. I can't help
Well,
but that.
Oh my God.
Guys, I'm not done with housekeeping, guys.
Hey,
Oh.
hey, wait.
Okay, go ahead.
You guys
7 people, guys. 7 people.
Okay.
Oh my!
Okay.
I
This
don't
is
know what to
ridiculous.
do.
Not
For
naming
those-
names. Not naming names. But who here remembers that one person at the Gin event where during the whole thing that they were going like this?
I do.
That's what you were thinking of when I did that.
That was what Asif reminded me of.
Yeah, exactly. That's
So
like
if you're
activating.
at home listening and you're not doing that,
Uh,
you're not listening hard enough.
yeah.
you're
if-
not listening hard enough. That's hilarious.
Okay, so quick. You can put comments, you can put questions, you can put reactions, you can troll us, you can bully us, you can whatever you want to do.
You can
Look at
even be
these households.
racist here. Oh, actually, Facebook might
Christine is our, what do you want to call it? Producer
Translator.
/ moderator / 5th unseen member of the podcast.
He's the
Guru.
5th dimension.
Yes.
Christine is the 5th dimension.
We have the father, that's me. We have
You can tell by his dad jokes.
the sons. Yeah, let's just go with it, guys. And Christine is the Holy Spirit.
Right.
All right.
Papa.
So,
I like it.
Man, we
So
got so
for
much
those-
to talk about.
For those of you who are watching live, this is the podcast. I don't know if you know that.
Oh yeah.
This is
Oh
the
yeah,
pod-
that wasn't clear.
Oh yeah. How do we cue the intro?
Oh,
No,
at the
no.
very beginning.
That'll
Just
be at
very
the
beginning.
end.
Oh,
We'll,
okay.
we'll figure it out.
Oh yeah,
Christine, can
actually
you
do
just
an
play the intro really, really loud through the speakers?
No, I don't do
that.
Yeah.
Welcome to Self-Perfected.
Okay. What I want to know, I really want to know this is
How did I
how
get this
is
shirt?
Joe Rogan
Oh,
getting?
No, go ahead.
How is do y'all see that Rogan got deplatformed like 13 or 113 of his episodes? So not fully deplatformed, but censorship is taking a toll on him.
From where? From
How are we
Spotify?
still on Spotify?
Because there's no money.
Yeah.
Well, no,
We're not
it's
bringing Spotify any money.
You don't have 9 million views yet per episode yet, Mitch.
number one, we don't fit into the system. Number two,
Well, wait. How
Um,
does that answer why we're not deplatformed?
because the system is ignoring us because it's actually on our side.
What's up?
What?
Because we have something even more powerful behind us, within us, without
Bookshelf.
us, through us, upon us.
As us.
Every preposition you can think of.
About
So-
us.
Basically,
I do feel like I'm in truth.
we act without fear and we
Better.
don't worry about it. So even if we did get deplatformed, it wouldn't matter because
We'll make a new
this is
platform.
just called bonus.
Yeah. This,
So
this,
but you know, I'm glad you brought up Joe Rogan.
this is like the foreskin that you cut off during the circumcision. You're fine without it.
Are you though?
I don't know. I mean, we're all here. So my parents beat me and I turned out fine.
Oh,
My parents-
Is it called
my parents
foreskin? It's
cut my
like
dick
I don't
off.
have 3 other backups.
My
all
should
right,
just call
guys.
it
Mark
vinyl
Michael
skin.
Smith says, "Hey guys, hey guys."
Shout
Michael
out
said-
Mark.
Hello. Okay, but hold on. But going back to the Joe Rogan. So I was laying in bed last night reading a novel, which I'm not going to go into the whole thing, although normally I would spoil the whole novel for you guys, but Katie is probably going to read it. It's a really good book called Replay by Kim Green.
The only
Kim
reason you're
Green
not spoiling
Grimwood.
it is because you know you don't want to spoil it for Katie. So shout
Yes,
out the love between man and woman that keeps
it's a
Cameron
great
from
book.
spoiling books.
it's a very good book. It's called Replay. But anyways, I was reading it and she was like, you know, she started talking about all the stuff going on with like Joe Rogan, the trucker convoy, Whoopi Goldberg.
Mhm.
I call her Whoopi Pie. That's my nickname for her.
Making whoopee.
Yeah, and just all these different things that are going on. All these people are getting canceled for saying a certain word.
Put in the comments what you think the word is.
Nice. Yeah.
Get canceled.
Oh well, we got 15 people, guys. Come on.
What the hell
Megan
is going
says,
on?
"Buddy."
Okay, one of the 15 definitely knows the word. So everyone throw in the
Megan
comment
says,
what you
"Is
think the
Asif
word
wearing
is.
a 1984 shirt? She must have missed the intro."
Guys, this is not just a
It's Cameron's
1984
own shirt from 1984. Like
Yes.
Cameron bought it when he was in 1980, when he
When-
was in the
Like
year
when he was
1980.
literally in the novel.
It's the name. It's the name of an African country, but how a Winnie the Pooh character would spell it.
Does that help?
What?
Not help.
Put it into the comments below if you know.
You'll
the
get that
word.
one later. Don't worry. That's for the second listen. You'll get it later. But everyone's getting canceled because of that. All right. And we were just looking at the point. And Kate had some really cool points. And it's like,
Wait, now I'm not clear about what this word is.
Oh, come on,
I'm
Asif.
glad you said something, Asif, because I'm a little lost too.
I'm not allowed to say the word, guys.
Oh, Mark said
Drake
it. Mark said
Could
it
say the
in the
word.
chat.
Some
That's what-
people are allowed to say it. Some people
Who
aren't.
said it?
Niger.
Did-
Mark.
That is
Mark
the
said
country.
Niger.
Yes. But how would the
Yes.
Winnie the Pooh character say it?
I think it's pronounced
Which
Negus. That's actually a
Yes.
word. There's a
Yes.
there's a
We know.
YouTube video of some kid spelling that at the spelling bee, and he's like, Negus? What?
Why is it that you're not allowed to say certain words?
So wait, hold on, Cameron, slow down.
Yes.
There's no some context. Like, so you're saying that Whoopi Goldberg, Joe Rogan. This is the assumption based off that they said the N word and got
Whoopi Goldberg
deplatformed?
didn't say it.
Right. So I don't understand what you're saying because I
No,
know
Whoopi Goldberg did say
didn't-
it.
What
She said it.
She did say it. So in that same, remember I sent you guys that clip? Just a little bit earlier in that clip, she's like talking about To Kill a Mockingbird, and like they were asking, why is To Kill a Mockingbird banned in school or in this particular school? And she's like, well, I mean, I guess if you're the only black kid in the class, the word nigger comes up so much. And it's like, it's really uncomfortable. I could see
And you're just
why
sitting there like, saying it again.
but that's not even the reason she got deplatformed.
No, but that's not what they said anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, she got deplatformed for being like the Holocaust isn't about race. It was about being inhumane, and our children shouldn't learn that it's about race. And is someone going to come get me because I'm a certain race? It should be about, man, we shouldn't do things like that. And I'm like, that's a pretty good fucking point.
It's a great point. It's a great point. I was like, what? Whoopi's like talking some straight
She like
shit.
suddenly woke up and she was like, well, did I just say that? Where did that come from? And anyways, so I don't know why that's a problem, but I think certain people just can't let go of their victim status because it gives them power. And kind of ironic, isn't it? Because the whole definition of this podcast should be called Everyone is Racist.
Yes.
Okay. We're all about redefining words. All right. Everyone is racist because what is racism?
It's discriminating based off race.
No, that's the old definition.
Oh, sorry.
Are you
want
talking about the
definition?
new definition?
If you're
Yeah.
benefiting from a system, basically.
Right.
You're benefiting from a hierarchy. Yeah.
What is it, Drake? You probably know it.
What? The new definition of racism?
Yeah.
White supremacy.
Well, no, but don't be snarky. I mean, like the actual. It's like
That's
like
it.
some. It's like, isn't it like prejudice plus power or something like that? It's like this specific.
I'll
it's
tell
like
you.
power.
I'll frickin' look it up and tell you.
Yeah.
Prejudice
Look up what the
against
ACL's definition of it is.
whose? I'm just gonna do the Google one.
Anti-Defamation League. I think it's their definition of it, or is it the ACLU? One of
It
the-
was ADL that I know I had seen earlier this week. that was
Racism is
really-
when W words do anything to N words.
Yeah, white people. Exactly. That's why I said white supremacy.
Well, that's not true because Candace Owens is racist, isn't she?
Well, she's a W, apparently.
She's a
Oh,
W.
so white is not a skin color. It's a
That's what
It's
I've
a
been trying to
culture.
say this whole time. That's what I'm trying to
Okay,
tell you.
okay, I got the
Guys,
definition.
Race is not about race.
it's
About
about the race.
Racism, race according to the ADL, fighting hate for good. Oh, fighting hate, that's gonna work. Okay. Racism occurs when individuals or institutions show more favorable evaluation or treatment of an individual or group based on race or ethnicity. And now we have systemic racism. That's gonna take a long time to read. But
Based on race or what?
Creed. Creed.
based on race or ethnicity.
Oh. I don't know where I got Creed from.
What is
Uh,
ethnicity? What's the difference between that and race? I mean, there's probably a definition.
Ethnicity.
You can be Hispanic,
Is
but you can be black
ethnicity is like
Hispanic.
your cultural heritage, where race is physical
So
difference.
it's just cultural.
Mhm.
So based on your race or culture. Okay. But what I was going to say with this, what was I going with it? Oh yeah, everybody's racist because think about it. If racism is when you're benefiting from a system of power and then you're using that to have power over people of certain cultures, races, etc., then like think about all the people who have a victim status that gives them power in the system. So by being a person who's victimized by racism, it gives you political power, and now you're a racist.
Word
So
up.
everything's become racist.
Because in the Google definition, it's about, kind of like groups that are becoming marginalized. And now that's what's happening to white people.
It's
So-
it's happening to everybody. Yeah, go ahead.
So Mark brought up a question. He said, is racism when people feel judged socioeconomically? I guess that was kind of like the point that you were saying a little bit, but more political.
I mean, that's a good question.
The word marginalized, what do people think it means?
I think when you hear that word, you think pushed to the side,
Right.
and
Yeah.
like
Kind of
kind of
excluded and
forgotten
separated.
and like not.
You're not. You're basically separate and not, therefore, not benefiting from what the system, what everyone else is getting. That's how. I look at
But
it.
it's so.
But it's
How
really
does
simple.
race actually play into that?
Right. But it's really simple. Like, because I was just looking it up, because it's in the definition of race. It's a group, somebody who identifies as a member of some group, or basically a member of a group that is being aggressed because of their membership to that group.
Man, the more I look at it, Whoopi had a really good point. because she's basically, I don't know if she's doing this on purpose, but it's like pushing back against the whole idea of abusing the word
But then she
racism for
cucked.
power.
Then she
Yeah,
then
but
she
I mean-
flopped. Yeah.
Yeah,
She tried
I
for
mean,
like
she
2
probably
seconds.
wasn't. She was probably just speaking her mind, and then.
Right.
But it's like, if you really look at it, the whole point is, if you turn it into racism, then it's always about people and race. It's never getting to the point of it, because you have people who are Black who are extremely wealthy. So if it was actually a system that was like denying you based on your race,
Marginalized means insignificant.
but think about this, that doesn't mean there are people in this world who, because they are a certain race, and then within the system and their particular programming, that's a factor in terms of why they didn't get a proper education. Because you always see this on the left. People are like, well, you have it's systemic, because in the 50s, like
Redlining.
Black people didn't have a lot of, like, I'm just making this up, but like didn't have a lot of money, so they couldn't buy a house and pass that down to their children and then give them loans when they're older. And like, it's like this really convoluted thing, but it kind of makes sense. And I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But the solution isn't, okay, so anybody who's Black, you should get these certain privileges, and if you're white, you should not get these. But it's like, shouldn't it just be, okay, let's just start over for a second and let's educate everyone effectively?
That would be insane.
Whoa. I cannot.
Hang
let
on.
you-
I got some great
pain.
reset vibes from that one, Cam. Explain yourself.
Well, what I'm saying is, you need to not own anything.
Hey, I'll be pretty happy then.
No, life will never be
Yeah.
better than
Oh, yeah,
if we were
that's
in
it.
that state.
If you
No.
think
But
about it,
I-
what
yeah.
is another word for somebody who doesn't own anything?
A homeless person,
Slave.
No, what was it?
a millennial,
Slave. Yes.
Hey, you want to know what would be really fun? Is what's that show, Wheel of Fortune, where you guess the letters? If somehow we could, like, if Christine could make a little thing pop up in the corner, and we could be like, "What is blank?" And then I don't know, that'd be hilarious.
You guys are assuming I have some crazy graphic designing or visual.
Yes.
No, look,
like-
I just
That's
did
exactly
it.
what we're doing.
I just did it in the Zoom chat. You just put some underlines and then let people guess
Hang on,
letters.
Christine, it's your first episode. It's okay, but by next week, I definitely would appreciate more game show to this too, just a little bit for like 1
Yeah,
second.
All right.
We're
But
gonna need
anyway.
green
Prizes.
screens.
Hang on though. Okay, not to lose the point here, because yes, I find it interesting, and as a white man, I am completely qualified to speak on the subject, right?
Oh shit.
It seems as though
Drake, give him your
um,
black seal of approval before he goes on. There you go. Approve. There you go. Okay, go for it.
thanks, Drake. Thanks for approving me. It's like, because Black people throughout history, right, or let's say around 1950s or whenever this was, there was the redlining, right? Banks wouldn't give loans based on race, all that. And now it's like, yes, we want to take certain steps to rectify that situation. If we're only looking at solving that for one particular race, of course, that's going to create a resentment and a backlash, because it's still separate. And so what makes sense is, like what Cameron's saying, is let's look at now what is the real issue here, which is the money system is fucked, as well as everyone's education is fucked. And if we only focus on money and education of one particular group, obviously that's not going to solve everything. And so we have to look at it on everyone who's a human, like that's the real baseline here. And then we support everyone. And then everyone's going to have a unique needs based on where they live, based on, their pre-programming. But again, if we're only looking at solutions based off of one particular group,
Yeah,
obviously
it's
that's
like
gonna
you're thinking that, well, it's ironic because it's literally racism. It's
Yeah.
acting as if the problem is coming from the race that's in power and they're inherently evil, and that's why they've created a situation where the other race that's not in power is having problems. And the thing is not realizing that it's inherent in everybody, the problem.
Mhm.
And it's not a judgment type of problem. It's not a problem where it's like, oh, this person is bad. It's an education problem. It's kind of like if you're playing a game. Like, let's imagine you were playing a board game and there was 5 different characters you could choose from, and certain characters had more advantages and certain characters had less advantages in the game, and you're playing the game. And then now you're the character that has the less advantages, and you're upset with the character that has more advantages, being like, you're the reason why I'm in this situation. And it's like, well, no, because next time we play, we'll just switch and you'll see I just got thrown into this situation. Now, that doesn't mean now that we could change it. But if your solution is now we just need to diminish this person and then this person should be more, the other characters are going to be like, well, but hold on, what about me? It's not going to solve any problem. You're still playing a game. It's not looking at the actual reality of what's needed and so forth. And so the other problem is,
Asif has a great line for this
what?
that he shared at the clubhouse yesterday. Are you gonna share it, Asif?
He's got to be hydrated.
I set you up for the alley-oop.
I mean, I'm assuming you mean what I wrote on the board.
No. The
don't know.
first thing you said when we were introducing ourselves at the clubhouse.
Oh my God. Yes. It was a great clubhouse yesterday. It was like 14 people. It's thank you, Drake, because this is definitely the thing that I'm going to focus on for like every single video that I ever make for the rest of my life. It's so
Leave in the
simple.
comments what you think Asif is going to say. Well,
Yes.
we'll leave this.
It is an age old,
because it is all about energy.
it is an age old adage that everyone has heard, no doubt, and we are going to keep that loop open, Drake.
Okay.
It is an age old adage that everyone has heard in the context of sports, among others. It more closely relates to sports, but it really is. It's used in business. It's used in music. It's used in everything. And just to keep that loop open, but just to flow off what Cameron was saying is like, you can't blame your parents. You can't blame like, this is what I see. Okay. They tried it. This point of being like, hey, look, these are your abusers. Let's abuse them. They started with gender, isn't it?
Oh yeah, check that out. Oh, women, you're so suppressed. Let's go back and say women need to be equal, and it's all the men's fault. We're living in tyranny. We're living in a toxic masculine society,
a patriarchal blah blah. And here's the point with that is, was there inequality?
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. Right. But is the solution to then just a revolution where you just rotate things until women are on top and men at the bottom? And this is the same thing. Thank you. We're live streaming.
What's the problem with women being on top?
The self-perfected group.
Oh, really?
Sometimes it's nice.
Thank you. Sometimes it's nice, tricks. Yeah, and I like them when they're on the side. And
Look, true equality is the woman in front, the man behind.
So, but hear me out.
But leading the cart, if you know what I mean.
I thought it was behind every great man. There wasn't even.
That
I'm
doesn't
confused
work.
now.
Yeah.
Like with some like
That
strap
is
on or something.
confusing.
With,
No,
Dirty up your mind for a second. You're playing in the men's club now.
Did you forget who I am, Asif?
Yeah, I'm actually terrified. I take
The
it all
prefix of my name is Christ.
back. Oh shit, dog. Who's speaking right now? Where is this voice coming
It's in your head.
The Holy Ghost.
from? Christ Pearson. So here's the thing. They tried it with that, and there wasn't enough sauce to it.
tried it
Because
with what?
they tried it with gender. Let's destroy everything based off of, right? But there wasn't enough sauce to it because
Hold on, wait, real quick. Not they.
We.
Wow, so true. Thank you for that massive correction.
Asif, did you put that in your TT yet?
I did not.
Change
I
they
did
to
not.
obviously.
Oh,
Guys,
sauce.
real quick. I know
Mitch,
I don't
take
wanna
it up
interrupt
after
your
the
flow,
call,
but I
bro.
gotta say
Come
this
on.
real quick. We should create our own like secret
Facebook
behind the
group.
secret, like type audio thing. No, I'm not. This is not a joke. I'm serious.
no, I'm laughing at Asif. We
Oh.
should create our own
That was funny.
Facebook group.
That was funny, dude. Come on.
No,
Where's
we should create our
Christine?
own like
Unmute yourself.
like
Laugh at my jokes too.
Hang on,
secret
hang on.
behind
I
the
want to hear
secret.
I can hear her
Cameron's
laughing.
guided meditation.
Okay,
no like an
close
actual
your eyes.
like your wish is your command, but better because it's not lying.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not pretending to be in the Alps. Is that what you mean? Cameron?
Yes.
Whoa,
There's
whoa,
actually
whoa, whoa,
7
whoa,
people on
hold
the live chat when we record.
We have 15 now.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Christine, you gotta slow it down with these cans of worms coming out of your
Okay,
mouth.
but but seriously,
I got a
But-
lot of skeletons. in
but
the
like,
closet,
you take
guys.
the good stuff, but you also even can take the good stuff and show like the reality of it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like when you say focus on your why, it's like feelings, emotions. Like, no, fuck all that. Like, really examine self honestly. What is your real purpose? What's the only valid purpose? Not what's the purpose you want. Like, I'm just giving examples. See, I'm already freaking recording it right now. But you can market it as the success secrets we want you to know about.
Ooh,
I like it.
good. Stamp of approval. The white
All right,
man's stamp of
guys.
approval.
W word. Hey, you can't say
Mitch,
that.
Mitch, that's not worth anything, dude.
Oh, I'm a victim now.
You just
Now I
got
have all the
victimized.
power.
Haha, I've got the power again. Oh fuck, I'm a racist. Damn it. Oh, but now I'm a victim. Ah,
See, that's the revolution right there. You just
it's
keep
the wheel
revolving
of karma.
The Holy Trinity.
Megan says that's juicy. So
That's the anti
number
Holy
2.
Trinity.
I think Megan, when she has a baby, she should name the baby Juicy, and his name would be Juicy Robert.
Juicy Robert.
No, it'd be
That
Juicy
just sounds
Van
like a cool
Camelback.
name.
It'd be Juicy
Oh
Van
wait, yeah,
Camelback.
you're right. Wait, why is your
That's-
name Robert on here? All you women, Christine finally changed her name to Pearson. That's good. Okay.
Yeah.
only on Zoom though, not on Facebook.
I don't know. I don't know if they like announce
Megan said ew.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Juicy. She doesn't like Juicy. That's
Sorry, Megan. I
Juicy
didn't
Van
mean to-
Camelback.
She will not be
I did-
naming her children.
Yo,
I didn't mean to victimize you.
that is quite the name. Juicy Van Camelback.
Yeah, I know that's fucking epic. But here, okay, hear me out.
With the
Hear me out.
Lord in front of it. That'd be
Oh,
good.
Juicy. Van
Okay,
Camelback.
go ahead, Asif. I know
Just
you're
Lord
Juicy's
Juicy.
Okay, so it's like we're just going up the tree of evil. We created the inequality a long time ago, which comes from lack of education, and that created a bunch of doubt in all the slaves of I can't create a business, basically, right? So because of the inequality, right? And then that created fear. Well, if I can't create a business, then damn, I gotta get a job. I gotta work for somebody, right? That's the doubt. That's the fear. Sorry. And then what that creates long term is blame, right? And so the biggest expression of blame that we've seen in recent history, not like it in specific timeline form, but it's the gender point. It's men have been our abusers, right? And so women joining the workforce, et cetera, is an attempt to take more responsibility. And you know, there's the baby in the bathwater situation where yes, there definitely has been inequality between men and women, but now there's just another inequality between men and women. But there wasn't enough souse with blame. Yeah. So there we needed to, we as ego, we as evil and living in reverse, we needed to take things to another level. And you know what kind of people break shit when they're angry? Is it women? It's men.
No,
Men break
women just
shit.
break man's spirit.
Exactly. And men go break shit. Right? So getting this whole black movement, it's not just black people. It's very obviously everybody who has low vocabulary. Because the anger results in doing something evil, which is going to burn shit down and all that fun stuff, right?
Hey, real
And-
quick. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So
There
the
you
point here is it's just creating these points of look, inequality. Here's the solution. Destroy the people, your oppressor, right? And that's never going to be the solution. It's very, very simple. I would say the go ahead.
Asif, I've already started climbing up this tree. I'm not coming back down.
I'm coming down now.
No.
It's okay. I'll cut
What's the
tree
next
down for you.
branch? I'm just reaching.
It's so true though, right? It's like the hole is dug so deep already. Like I remember on Twitter and things like that, I would start seeing, not that I was on Twitter, I don't remember where I'd see this, but maybe I was on Facebook or whatever. But you know, how is XYZ gonna solve 400 years of oppression for Black people? How is XYZ, ABC, DEF, doesn't matter what you say, how is that going to solve 400 years of oppression? You're right. It never fucking will. That's why there's only one solution. You have to let go of the blame. You have to do self-forgiveness of what you're perceiving at. Well, but the prerequisite to that is education. Because this is a pro tip for people walking this process, listening to this podcast. If you find yourself stuck with not being able to actually let go of a point, it's because you don't understand.
Yeah. A big prerequisite to self-forgiveness has to be education, because otherwise you have no idea what you're even doing with the self-forgiveness. You have no idea why. You're just like, why am I back in church? What the fuck? You know, like, well, who am I forgiving? Why do I need to forgive?
And what you can do is start with whatever you're feeling and forgive that. And then when you're like, yeah, but I still feel it. And it's like, well, why? Where's it coming from? Be honest with yourself.
Exactly.
Why do I need to
Kim says,
forgive?
just treat all people with respect.
Who says that?
Kim, I'm just reading the chat.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but let's look at that for a moment. Okay, because the problem is, see, Kim is the kind of person in the world who you would call a good person, right? They care about other people. They want to do what's right for other people. They don't want to hurt people. They're friendly, they're kind, things like that. But the problem is that it doesn't change the system. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be a good person. It's just saying it doesn't change the system. So when we say treat all people with respect, the problem is if you only looked at it from the perspective of, okay, I'm going to do my part of treating other people with respect, because that's how I would want to be treated. And that's all I can do. The problem is thinking that's all I can do. Does that make sense? And also there's a hope that if I treat everyone with respect, people will see the example, they'll start doing it and so forth. But think about this. What does it mean to treat, let's say this kid grows up, right? And his parents lock him in the basement. They feed him scraps under the door. And the father comes in every week, sexually abuses him, burns him with cigarettes, and slaps him and calls him, trash, and does that every day until he's 12 years old. And then the kid is like, would you agree with me that kid's going to be emotionally damaged for the rest of his life? Yes. So now this kid grows up and he's got all these obviously mental problems, and he becomes a serial killer and he rapes children because he's doing the thing that was done to him, essentially, right? How do you treat that person with respect? Like that person, you just nice to them?
No.
Do you invite them
No.
into your home for dinner with your 7-year-old daughter in the other room playing, and you want to respect them, so you don't want to, impose on them, and you just let them go and do anything you want in your house? Would that be respectful?
The respect would
Like-
be to get them help.
Well, but you see, my point though is like, let's look at the actual point of how do we treat people with respect in every context. Now, I would say there's really the only way to treat that person with respect is to, number one, not let them anywhere near anybody they can harm, right? First of all. And second of all, yes, educate them, but how are you going to do that? What are you going to do? Sit them down and be like, hey, you really shouldn't rape people. You really shouldn't kill people. Like, think about it for just a moment. What is going on within that person as to why they would do those things? Do you think that they're like, I'm just a totally normal person. I have no fears. I have no anxieties. I have no fucked up ideas about things. And I'm just going to go rape some people. Is that what's going on? Or is it within them is built a system that has to do that?
Yeah.
Do you see? So what does it mean? What does it mean to educate them in that context? Right? I know that's what Kim's saying. That's what they learned. Yes. The question is, how do they unlearn it? And this is the big point that people are not yet fully understanding with Techno Tutor is the only way you can unlearn. It's the only way. Because unless you know how to go and change that physical programming from the first 7 years, and you can do it like that, where you change immediately, That's not like, how long do you have to help this person? Their whole life? And they're just also walking around and doing whatever they're doing.
So,
But now the bigger question is, oh, hold on, just a moment. The bigger
Yeah.
question is, how do you prevent that from in the first place? What, are you going to go and you're going to go sit down with the kid's father before they have kids? And you're just going to spend all day with them every day, talking to them, trying to tell them why they shouldn't abuse their kid when they're born? And why was that father an abuser? Wasn't his father probably abusing him, or something happened in the context of the environment that they're in? That you're not going to individually have the time to sit there and sort all of that out. It's like you have your own life to deal with and the people that are just in your sphere. Right?
the problem is that unless you are taking on the responsibility of supporting people with real education, you won't even see that this is a problem. There was so long, like when I was just using TechnoTutor for myself, walking this process for myself, doing my own thing, right? Doing my own thing, right? Classic.
As
I would
one
see
does.
as one does, right? Exactly. Just focus on myself, right? I would watch Cameron's live videos, and I remember I was like, these are so impactful. I downloaded all of them into audio form and would listen to them over and over again. And that's what's now on YouTube and things like that. But the point here is Cameron would say certain things as if people were generally thinking it, as in like, why do people say that they feel that their children need to struggle because I needed to struggle? And I'm like, people don't think that. Like, I haven't heard anybody say that. Like, what? It's like you're handling these ghost objections, like things that you cooked up and that, right? But it wasn't until I was a distributor, and then I would go and speak with people about how do they see the world, how do they see parenting, how do they see education, whatever it is, about real things, because I was never challenged to do that when I wasn't willing to take responsibility in the world. And then I started seeing, because I used to think dude, Cameron, there's so many different ways that people can change. People change their minds all the time. My brother, he left religion or whatever without TechnoTutor. Like, why do you need TechnoTutor? What's the point? And see, what we don't realize is it's like you either go down the religious route, go left, or go down the non-religious route, go right, and they both end up at the same outcome: slavery. You either go down, spiritual, or just fuck spirituality, all that's bullshit, I'm just gonna get on the system. Both of them end up back at slavery. No one's actually changing the outcome. And so the point with that is realizing that we've just been playing this game forever, that it's either this or that, this or that, this or that. There's no in between. I think it's crazy to be patient with your child, because what are you going to do? You're just going to let them walk all over you and just you let them do whatever they want. And it's like, no, that's not what patience is. Right. But our mind, because of lack of education, is designed to go, I either have to control and quote unquote discipline my child, the fuck out of them, or I have to let them do whatever they want and become their best friend. So the issue that arises is you don't realize, if you're walking this process for yourself, you're probably, if you're listening to this podcast, you're most likely in agreement with most of what we're saying, because it's common sense, because we're not asking you to believe in anything. You can see it for yourself, right? But you will not realize until you start building a clubhouse, until you start going out and talking to people, individuals, your neighbors, your community, people online, whatever the case may be, until you start talking about real things and speaking up and speaking out and standing up and standing out on Facebook, for example. Just start there, right? One of the biggest fears of sharing that I had to push through was making live videos. And I know that you guys experience that as well, right? And it's like, and it doesn't have to be live videos, just making videos of me speaking about things that are actually important, right? And so, because you're exposing yourself in a way that people are going to shit on you because it's challenging them, right? And so the interesting part is when you start doing that, that's when you start to see for yourself, people are actually fucked. They cannot change their mind in a way that actually produces a different result. When it gets to the point where they're actually having to question their belief system, they cap out. They say, well, to each their own. Well, I think everybody should have their own opinion. Well, I think, well, you know, I don't think it's right for you to kind of like tell other people what to do and all this bullshit, right? Even though a moment ago they were espousing their bullshit as if it was the word of God, right? But the problem is, at the end of the day, that nobody even understands what education is, and you will not understand what education is until you go attempt to take on the responsibility of changing, I'm doing air quotes, changing somebody's mind without having an effective ability to communicate and understand what the real solution is. The point that Cameron was making is you can't just go up to somebody and be like, hey man, you shouldn't abuse anymore. Try it with yourself.
Well, hold on. Case in point. There's people in our group who are still not even studying Destiny. And they're like, oh, you should just educate people. And they have all these ideas of what you should do. And it's like, you're not educating yourself. You still believe in God. You still think there's fucking Jesus Christ coming on a cloud to save everybody. You think there's a fucking heaven. You think that bliss is the answer. You're fucking retarded. You're not educating yourself. And it's not easy, I understand. But if you come into self-perfected with your own ideas and you're not willing to challenge them, you're missing the point. You're just here, which is fine. I know there's going to be a certain percentage of people who.
Yeah, there's also this common theme that I'm sure is very obvious to a lot of like you guys and a lot of people in this group, but it's like we're not getting to the root cause of any problem, right? Which is like the education point. Like it all comes down to education and then actually understanding like, okay, all of these, like even with the race point, the people acting out because they've been abused, it's like these are all symptoms of a like very fundamental problem that no one's just willing to like really go down and like understand like, okay, like, but why is all this stuff happening?
Right.
Why are there
It's
so
all in
many
a
chronic
reaction.
diseases?
But let's look at that word education, because it's like when someone says, okay, the solution is education. Now, here's the problem with that. Because would you guys agree when we say
need more
education,
schools.
all
We
four of
need
us
more
mean the same
schools.
fucking thing, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it what most people think they mean when they say the word education?
No.
Fuck
That's not
no.
what I thought 3 years ago.
They're not
Because if you
educating
were to
what
ask an
education is.
expert what is education, what would they say?
Right. They would tell you an abusive answer of like, oh, it's supporting your kid to go through, learning about the world and everything. But they
And
don't
it's
know
like go to
shit
school
about
and
physical
and
programming.
it's like, how's that going to help the rapist?
Exactly.
Right.
And then you might have some other idea about education, and it's this kind of therapy or this kind of fucking tapping yourself on the forehead and whatever. And it's like, how is that going to change their fucking internal programming? Again, you won't even know that that's something you don't know. You won't even understand that there's a deeper
Exactly.
thing that you don't fucking understand about that needs to be changed, because you're not even addressing it. You don't know about it. You don't know what you don't know.
Mhm.
We know.
It-
That's why
it-
we have the proof.
It's like you're in the Matrix and you're literally plugged in like Neo is before he wakes up. And then you're watching the movie The Matrix. And you're like, oh, I get it. I'm outside the Matrix. And you're in the fucking Matrix.
You're in the
Right.
Matrix watching the Matrix, and you're like,
And you're
oh,
like,
I'm
dude,
waking people
because I
up
watched-
by getting them to watch the Matrix.
Yeah, you're like, because I
And-
watched this
and-
movie, now I fucking get it.
Right.
And
if everyone just
let's-
watched this movie, everyone would know about the movie.
Right. It's like, and let's just make this crystal clear. If you're not using TechnoTutor specifically, not Jin, not reading books, not podcasts, audios, TechnoTutor specifically, because it's changing that physical programming, which nothing else can do. So unless you're using that, as well as, like Cameron said, going through Destiny, DIP Lite, and all the material in EQOF and all that, and then using them together every single day, unless you're doing that, you're literally not changing yourself. You're
It's
going
like-
to keep doing the abuse.
And you might say, oh, but my life's working out. It's fine. Everything. Okay. I'm not arguing with that. You might have a decent life that you're okay with, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking
Yeah.
about changing the fucking system. So you're talking about a whole different thing. You have a different purpose for your life. Your life you've resigned yourself that it's just about you and your personal happiness. You're a selfish person, but you've covered it up by saying I'm a good person because I'm nice and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, that's not my definition. That's not our definition.
Yeah.
See,
And that's
it's-
why it's called self-perfected, not self-development. Because self-development is just like, oh, I'm just here to develop my own happiness, basically is what it is. And where self-perfection is looking at the whole context of everything in reality. And then looking at, okay, how did we get here? This is fucked. And for anyone who thinks, oh, the world's getting better, look at, again, how many kids die every single day from preventable causes. Look at child sex trafficking, child abuse, all this bullshit with COVID, all that stuff, right? The censorship of free speech. It's all a systemic problem. And that's all going to keep getting worse until we collectively stand up and then change the system.
I just realized something. Obviously, it's not something new, but check this out. Let's say we focus all our fucking effort on solving racism, okay?
Okay.
Which we should.
Our kids,
Yeah, let's
our
do
kids,
it.
are they still going to be pushing vaccines on kids?
Yeah.
Of course.
Do you
Oh.
see do you see the distraction?
It'd be
Oh.
racist not to.
But do you see the distraction? Hold on.
Yeah.
I want you to get into that, Jake, but I'm making a point here. Do you see the distraction?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
We're being told to focus on transgender, this, that, all this other stuff. But who's the biggest fucking advocates of everybody getting the vaccine now?
Well,
Liberals, honestly.
All those people who were pushing all that stuff. It's like they've got their little pet project now, and everything else is just comply with the system, comply with the system. Isn't that fucking ironic?
yeah, the same system of abuse.
The
That they're
system
complaining.
that is literally the same one that's racist is also saying everybody get all this vaccines, I'll do all this shit, wear all the masks, all this crap, science. But I thought science was like 3 years ago, science was racist. And now it's listen to the scientist. I mean, you mean the racist?
And which scientist? Because I don't know about y'all, but I just saw that hearing with the sitting US senator and what, 20, 30 of the top experts in the world.
Yeah. And
All
if we were
saying the evidence is being covered up with the vaccine.
if we were actually about if these people were actually about no, I'll say we, if we were actually about people who are being oppressed by a system that has power and marginalizing people, wouldn't we be like on the side of the people, like these doctors who are being marginalized by the system? Wouldn't we be
Whoa.
like,
Exactly.
guys, there's this small
Cameron.
group of people who are being marginalized because of their beliefs, da 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 da. We should listen to them, we should protect them. Like,
yeah.
You know,
but the whole movement is all about, and see, here's the problem. This is why I jumped on the point of respect and so forth and all this stuff, because that concept plays perfectly into the hands of the people who just want you to go along with things based on their opinion about how you should behave.
Right.
It's like last night we're playing cards like every night for the past like basically month. We play card games with the kids, different little fun card games. And Max sits there and he got the card he didn't want and he goes, oh fuck. Right. And we just kind of laughed. But imagine another person sitting there going like, oh my God, how can you allow that child to say that?
yeah.
It's like, okay,
Where's
well,
the,
at
where's
what
the
age,
respect?
at
Where's
what
the
age
respect?
should they be allowed to say it?
Right.
Right. And then I think earlier, it was either early before that or after that. I don't remember what, I was like playing a card and it was like to my advantage, but not his or something. He was like, oh, Cameron, he's like, you're being so fucky right now. It was so funny. It's probably something I would have said. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you disrespecting your parents. It's like,
Right.
no,
Right.
the respecting me is you're another human being and you're smart. And I would say something like that. He's like, you would say something like that to your child? I mean, probably not, but not because I can't, just because like, why would I need to? But my point is, this idea people have about respect can be manipulated. Everyone's got a fucking different opinion about it. What does it mean to respect somebody? Do you respect them if they want to wear a fucking burqa? Do you respect a man who says his wife should wear a burqa?
Where's the
What if you say, no, you shouldn't do that? Okay, well, if he says to you, well, I don't think you should wear that cross. Now, is he respecting you or not? So do you have to respect him for him to respect you?
What about if you're telling somebody else to respect somebody? Are you respecting their belief that they should treat
Like, I
people
want you to
however?
imagine a pimp in New York in the fucking ghetto. And his way of life is pimping hoes. And I'm not saying like on a rap song. I mean like an actual real pimp who is actually a pimp. And you're
Like,
going to
he
go
gets
tell
up,
him.
he has breakfast, he goes, he pimps.
And like one of his prostitutes that he manages, like says something to him and he slaps her. And you know what he says?
Respect
Don't
me.
fucking disrespect me.
Right.
Yeah.
And what are you gonna say? Oh, that's not real. That's not real respect. Well, guess what? You go to the mosque, you fucking kneel 3 times and stand up and do all these fucking ablutions. I don't even know what they do. And you don't do that. They're like, you're disrespecting our temple.
Hmm.
So what the fuck is respect? How is that going to change the world? It would have already changed it. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, people just need to respect. That's all. Dude, have you ever been in that fucking abusive house, but the kids are respectful to their parents?
Oh,
That's what
my
respect
God.
becomes. Respect just becomes like, hey, don't tread on what is going to set me off, and I'll let you do your thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Respect is actually a way of a master controlling slaves.
Yes.
And
That's
the
exactly
system
how I
right now,
experienced it as a
think
child.
about this. The system right now is saying you respect the authority. You respect me as the system.
Mm.
Don't
Right,
fucking put on
respect
if I give
respect
you
all
$100
that.
million and I give you a podcast, you don't fucking bring on the people who are challenging the narrative. That's not what you do. And if you do, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna bring up all the times you said that word you're not supposed to say. Because that's what's happening to Joe Rogan right now. It's what's happening to everybody. You look around.
Oh,
There's
is that what's
this
happening to
big
Joe?
there's this big effort right now.
Oh,
Like it's I didn't even think about it because obviously we're focusing on so many different things until Katie pointed it out. And I'm like, oh damn, they're like taking a bunch of people down right now. They're attacking Joe Rogan. Why? Because he's got a big platform.
Didn't anybody else
He's
think
the
like Joe Rogan is like safe? Like, they're not going to attack Joe Rogan. He's like,
I kind of did, honestly.
Yeah.
I was like,
I had-
"Ah,
Spotify is backing him up though. Like Spotify is because he's on Spotify, right?
No, they're not because they said
They're
they're gonna put a disclaimer at the beginning
Oh.
that says you should go and talk to your medical professional, blah blah blah. These opinions are not mainstream consensus of most scientists. Even that is like a fucking centimeter giving him an inch. You know what I'm trying to say?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
a tiny little bit, and it might seem insignificant, but but hold on. How do you know what the consensus of medical experts is? Who is the one
Exactly.
gathering the consensus? Google? It's
Right.
Facebook? Like, who is the consensus? The American Medical Association? That's like you and I, all 4 of us could today start the International Medical Organization. We can put a website up. We can just be like, we're just going to do that. And we're going to start calling doctors and be like, do you want to be a part of our organization? We'll give you our stamp of approval. And the more doctors we get, guess what? 30 years from now, if we had enough people on board, we'd have clout. If you had enough money and so forth. It's not because we have any fucking expertise. It's because we decided to start something. And remember that whole story Kevin tells in I don't know if it's in Which Is Your Command, but he talks about the
pool.
Know the score.
the World Pool Association, right?
it was in Know the Score about the world, the pool association. And they're like, well, you're not going to be a part of the pool association. He's like, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't need your stamp of approval. That's not going to stop me from doing tournaments and being on TV and getting sponsorships and all this.
Guys,
I'll just do my own
this is
thing.
giving me a great idea, man. Like, what if we made a website and it was like, it's like a child getting a vaccine. And it was like, why you should get the vaccine. And then as you scroll, you're like, oh, cool. And as you scroll down and read it, it's like, yeah, so what if the military trials showed that neurological disorders and dysfunction went up by 1,000%? Like, it's not a big
Yeah,
deal.
it's-
You should still get your
It
vaccine.
just went up like 300% or whatever.
Exactly. Exactly. Cancer rates in the military trials have went up by 300%. It's like, imagine we just put like all those pieces of information. It's like, you should still get it. I wonder if people would be able to read that.
Anything to save one life from.
I don't think people can actually read that and then understand what they're reading.
See,
They-
but just for a moment, it wouldn't even matter, would it? Like, I know I know you're joking, but like,
Yeah.
would it make a difference? Even if every fucking person on the planet read that website? Because they've already been programmed with a point of, I'm going to follow the system or I'm not going to follow the system to some degree. And even the people who think they aren't following the system are still following the system. Why? Because they're not trying to change the system. They're just getting
Exactly.
upset when it affects them.
Okay, that's such an important point for people to really look at for themselves. You don't have to leave this one in a comment, but just look at for yourself, yes or no. Are you here to actually change the system? Boom. You should know instantly.
Wow.
And that's your
That's
indicator.
great.
That's your self-honesty of, do you fucking care about
And then,
changing the
if you're not here to change the system, meaning the immediate point is like, well, no, because blah, blah, blah. Then whatever you just said, because you should do self-forgiveness on that.
Yeah. Because that's that same system. Like, what are the odds that you're you? Really look at this. Like, whoever is listening, or for myself, what are the odds that you are you in your body, right? Whether you're white, black, man, woman,
One
trans,
statistic
transgender, whatever.
One
But, like-
statistic was like 1 in 4 trillion that you came out as. you.
Sure. So let's say that's it, right? It's like, so then you're you. What are the odds that you're you and you're not some kid that Cameron's talking about that's getting fucking abused with the cigarettes burned in you every day? Because that shit happens every fucking day. During this episode, that happened probably 10,000 times around the world, maybe way more. And so, what the fuck are you gonna do about it? Because if you were in that position, wouldn't you want some? Because is that kid locked in the basement able to get out and help himself?
Mm-mm.
No, only a fucking system is gonna do that. But again, yeah,
the point of you meaning the person that you're hypothetically talking to, saying I'm not going to change the system and here's all my reasons why, blah blah blah. That's the same reason why you sitting down and trying to educate the child rapist isn't going to fucking work, because their purpose for being is raping children. That's their programming. Just like your programming is, oh, I'm just here to do blah 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 blah, and it's not change the system. Like, I wasn't born to change. I wasn't born with the I'm gonna fucking change the system. None of us were. That's
exactly.
the actual education process. And if your education process is not educating you to even come to that realization, it's not real fucking education.
That's a good point.
It's just the acceptance of opinions. That's it.
Yeah, it's a really good point, because you should be able to see really clearly things do need to change, obviously, right? And so the reason why you would argue for not changing it would just simply be because of your whatever you were influenced with in your environment, and that's it. Because if you're being honest about what's happening here, it's like nobody's happy. Nobody actually likes this. Nobody actually wants this. And we are being distracted by a bunch of shit, but that shit's also like part of the reason why you're not happy, right? It's like just other reasons why you would not be happy. And I watched that Dark Horse podcast. I forget what the other guy's name was, but where they were talking about everything for the last 5 years has been a major distraction as far as what's actually important in this world, you know? And they were talking about how something really simple, like, okay, you want to talk about environmentalism, when, 20 years ago,
Oh yeah.
driving down the street or driving on the highway, you had bugs galore all over your car. You had, a whole mess of bugs trying to get into your home. Today, you can kind of leave the light on at night and you're only going to see like a few moths flying around.
You can take a trip all the way to fucking Florida and back and not even have to wash your windshield.
That's crazy.
What's the point with that?
That there's a different amount of bugs and now.
ecosystem.
Like ecologically, there's a problem. Like there's not as many bugs flying around.
It's significantly less. Right.
And why is that significant in terms of the discussion of like climate change and things like that?
Because
was that what
he's
you're
saying like people are getting all upset about climate change, but they're not talking about real things that matter.
Right. Okay.
It's like
Okay.
carbon emission, and it's like it's not
Yeah.
real shit.
Yeah.
It's all just stuff that plays into corporations getting advantages. That's all
You
that shit
you
is.
can't tax a decrease in insects, right?
Well, but
you
the
can
point
tax-
is like,
you
let's
can
look at
tax
the
carbon
actual real stuff that's going on. What's the causes? Pesticides. I mean, think about it.
Right.
Like, why there's less fucking bugs,
everything.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're just allowing those things to continue without even bringing them up at all.
Katie made this really cool point to me. She said that because you were talking about, I think that you're talking about on the mat. Were they talking about mass formation on that episode you were talking about, Drake?
Yeah,
I think so, right? She made
What a
this point
sneeze,
to me.
man. That was crazy.
It was
Did you hear
silent.
I heard
Oh.
like,
Oh, okay.
and then he muted. He muted.
Yeah.
The mass formation point, right? Which is
Yeah.
everybody going into some fucking psychosis, getting paranoid, getting distracted by all the media narrative. Okay, real quick. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jake. The mass psychosis is people, because of their programming and so forth, being manipulated by media narratives into fear and then taking action based on fear and all that stuff, right?
Right.
Being emotionally manipulated by narratives, basically. That's the whole
Right.
point. It's the media knowing how to play and pull the strings and get people to act and so forth, right?
Yeah.
What do you think the fucking freedom convoy is? What if I were to tell you a bunch of people got together in a major city and sat down and decided to occupy it? Am I talking about A, Occupy Wall Street, B, Black Lives Matter, C, the Freedom Convoy?
Or D, all of the above.
Leave your comment what you think it is.
Game showy. Keep it up, Christine. That's Christine who's made it more game showy.
It's like,
Oh, that was
well,
good.
but they're
was
standing
good.
up against the vaccine mandates.
No, they're not.
But this is something that I believe in.
But again, that's just like standing up against racism. Not gonna
Mhm.
change anything. Is it gonna change whether your children are still going to school?
Exactly.
Is like, okay, you stand up against the vaccine mandates. What are you gonna do next? You're gonna drive your trucks and occupy the Capitol until they stop accusing everybody of being racist? Like again, the problem is thinking it's that one person in government. Now, if that person leaves, suddenly everything's gonna be good. Well, how come he got fucking elected again in the first place or the second place?
Right. Right.
Apparently, I
It's-
saw something actually with
Maybe.
that our election that they didn't count a bunch of mail-in votes for the last prime minister election because they were like delayed or something, and it was like over
yeah, no shit.
200,000 ballots or something.
What's
See, but how do
So-
you go up against that system?
And people
Right.
are
When
still
you're
stuck on revolution. Like
Right. When your
literally.
only solution is to just sit and like, it's like a child, a petulant child.
watch
Where-
watch it. Okay,
How does it support you to change? What are you gonna say?
that's a good point because it doesn't support the person to change, obviously. So the only trucker there that's doing anything real is Bruce, who's going out talking about real solutions. And here's what I'm calling. Okay, calling this right. As long as we don't get deplatformed, you can set it here. Watch them utilize all these giant amounts of trucks and the diesel burning. They're gonna then say like, climate scientists said that in Ottawa they did all this, and that's why it's like a big issue towards climate change. So the system's just going to use it. So I'm calling there's going to be something with that mass amount of vehicles all being on and doing that. They're going to use it now towards the climate narrative because COVID is
Right. And
is-
Klaus Schwab's gonna be up there like, see, and this is why we cannot allow the trucks to be transporting the goods. We must have centralized planning of the
Exactly.
supply chains, and there must not be a human involved because they cannot be trusted.
We must be
Because they are
vaccinated
racist.
against the trucks.
They are racist white.
trucks.
The trucks are racist.
White, you must get vaccinated against the white people who drive the carbon trucks.
What we need is a strong German leader to lead the racists.
Not
not racists. Oh,
So this is what I see.
Hey, I heard the
It's
Holocaust
like-
wasn't about. Is that true?
What was that? What was that? That's what
That
the
Holocaust wasn't about race.
hey,
That's
and
cool,
it wasn't a
dude.
W word that said it.
Hey, want to know what's so funny? Right, this happens again. They're like, you go on Facebook and then you look at the gifts and the stickers you can send, and they're always like, "Lift Black voices, elevate Black voices." Right? Y'all see that phrase, "Lift Black voices"? Can't we
Not
lift Bloomberg's voice?
not Whoopi's though. That's funny.
Not
That's
your
great.
black voice.
So do you think if someone said what Whoopi said and they were not black, they would have had the same punishment that she got?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good question.
Yes,
For
absolutely.
sure.
Because
Like-
it's about her taking the stress off of racism. Because racism is a card that you can pull on literally everything. And if you're saying it's not about racism, this thing that we keep referring back to, the big problem of it that we're comparing Donald Trump to everybody is comparable to Hitler because they're racist, and it's not about race. It's like, wait a second. Then we have to prove this whole other thing. No, fuck that. You're getting fucked up. And the funniest thing is the reason she wrote a little apology. And the only it's just so funny. It's like, I remember like the very few things that I learned in high school was fallacies, erroneous thinking in logic. And one of them was the appeal to authority. And she was like, oh, because the expert at the fucking Nazi, whatever institute or whatever it
Holocaust
was.
Museum or some shit.
Exactly. He said it was about race. I stand corrected. It's
Oh.
like, what? Who did you write that, Whoopi, or was it like your PR manager? Because that's horrifying. It's like, who the fuck gave them the credentials? Well, yeah, because they studied. Yeah, but who gave them the authority to study that shit?
See, that's what kids are learning, right? That's what kids learn is just like, oh, she's wrong because that guy said so, and
Exactly.
he's the expert. Okay, and like you don't have to question any of that shit at all whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's just always like, oh, you studied in school for this many years. I will listen to you, whatever you say.
People are so afraid of being shamed because they weren't respectful of shit. And that's really what all that comes down to, isn't it?
But also, that's the reason why we were able to have this pandemic, because people were afraid of being shamed. Like,
Right.
consider,
Right.
I remember in the beginning, in the early beginning, Cam, you were like, I'm not wearing a mask. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna not wear a mask. And then like
Kill him.
going into my grocery store here and people just like giving me evil eye, all that,
Darts,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
was not fun at all.
It wasn't at all. Like I would get yelled at and people asked me to leave and all this shit. And then I challenged my friends. I was like, yo, if they were to say to you, put a white dot over your left eye, because that shows, you care and you're actually doing something, would you do it? And they were like, obviously no. I was like, that's what the mask is. Don't do it.
Oh,
And they were like,
You know what's funny is that I asked people that same thing and they said, yeah, I would.
boom.
Like,
Well,
Really?
well, Christine actually has the right answer. That they would.
Right.
they would.
I
Right.
would say they won't, but they
Yeah.
would.
Exactly. And Drake was using the logic of people thinking they wouldn't do it, but Drake
Right.
making the
But
point
they're
of,
doing it.
You're doing
So
it. Yeah.
here's the interesting point, right? Because I can still see how the mainstream person would look at it as, well, that mask is preventing the coronavirus from jumping person to person. And therefore, if you don't wear it, you're going to kill someone. And if you do wear it, you're not going to kill someone. That's the faulty logic. But I'm just saying, like,
This is how the coronavirus jumps. It's like this.
not around it.
But
Or through it.
man,
It's so funny. There was this ad. I saw this one ad, and it was like, because all these bitches are trying to make money in e-commerce on selling masks and stupid shit like that. Like Will.i.am came out with this retarded mask, and it's so funny because in the advertising they're like, cloth mask, breathable. I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah, right.
marketing work, they're literally like, this thing is meant to like not do
You
something.
from breathing, right? Exactly.
Okay. That's another point. That's another point that I want to bring up.
Hey, real quick, before
Yeah.
you do that, Carl made a comment.
Uh.
Quote, over 70 episodes of the Joe Rogan Experience were quietly removed from Spotify Friday, from the Rolling Stone.
He
Oh,
used because he said that on 70 episodes
Because the N-word was used by guests or Joe.
on those episodes.
What? That's crazy.
Really?
Quietly. Whisper,
And then
whisper.
what? And then the other ones are probably removed because of medical information.
no, I think they're leaving those, aren't they? And then they're just putting the disclaimer.
Really?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. They just
I have
like
a
they
hard time
flipped this whole thing
No,
just to be
no,
about
no.
race now. It's like, oh,
Because-
now Joe is racist. We need to deplatform him.
Really?
Such a quick flip.
But that was why I was bringing it up.
Yeah.
Because
okay.
you see how it's like suddenly everything's about that again. We're switching it. And it's like, how the fuck are you going to change any of that by being respectful to people?
Right.
Like, be disrespectful. I'm not saying you got to go out of your way and like cuss at people in the street. Like, that's pointless.
That's Tourette's.
Yeah, that's just true.
That's true.
That was good.
That was worth having you on right there, Christine.
Boom. Great work.
It's
Christine.
like it's just
Yeah,
what's
it's
the
like
systematic way you're going to change the system?
here's what I see. Oh, Dre, go ahead.
Okay. Did you listen to that Owen Benjamin tyrannical feminism? Because he
Yeah,
makes
that was
this
so
great
good.
point. He makes a really great point.
Cam,
Someone-
dude.
Someone
Look,
accosted him.
I don't recommend shit, but dude,
I know
will
you told me. I
fucking
just have
love
to make
that.
the time for it.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I will.
I listened to it in like 5
Awesome.
parts, so it's definitely worth it.
It's so
Yeah,
funny.
same.
Makes that one voice too.
Huh.
He's laughing so hard.
Dude, the thing that you'll love, Cameron, is when he's just talking about his animals, about what it's like to kill animals. You'll be like, oh my god, dude, I'm just like Owen fucking Benjamin, dude.
I was arguing with vegans on a Facebook post, by the way, the other day.
Uh-huh.
And it, like literally the post, it was some, I guess, vegan.
What
page
Cameron
that I
likes to do
follow.
in his pastime is face conflict.
Yeah, and
What Cameron likes
no,
to do in
I experienced zero conflict on this, but the article was, is it ethical to eat the eggs from backyard chickens?
Are you kidding me?
And I just put, well, if I don't eat them, my pigs will. And then I made a point about like, I'm giving them shelter. I'm feeding. You know how much it costs to buy feed for chickens?
A lot.
It's not cheap. So all these people are like, I'm gonna go off grid and raise chickens and all this stuff. I'm like, first of all, how much is a tractor? How much does it cost to feed? Do you know there's no nutrients in the soil? You got to fucking compost. You got to do all like, if you're broke, you ain't doing that.
Mhm.
But I was like, why wouldn't I eat the eggs? They're just sitting in there. Like
Yeah.
even trying to kind of play in their logic. And and this person said that I was enslaving the chickens, right? And I was like, everybody's fucking enslaved.
Let
Like,
him go
if
free.
I go,
You
no,
wanna go
that's not what I
there.
said. That's not what I said. I said you're enslaving the bacteria in your body to digest your food.
Ooh, stealthy.
Their response was, it doesn't count because bacteria are not individuals. Because individuality is defined by having consciousness and a central nervous system. I'm like,
Wow.
that's a fucking very elitist way of defining what is an individual.
Wow.
Like that's literally fucking like white light, elitist. Like you have consciousness, therefore you get rights. And then I just made the point. I was very clear about it. Like we have to change the system. No, life is not respected equally at all. And so the problem with veganism is thinking you're morally superior. You're doing the good thing when you're not changing anything. And
Just
not
another
realizing that
extremist group.
they're right. The slavery is much deeper than you realize. It's fundamental. A lot of things, you have to change a lot of your presuppositions and your beliefs if you're going to actually make a difference. It's really easy to just not eat meat if you have money.
Yeah.
Drake, what were you gonna say?
About Owen Benjamin.
I don't fucking yeah, exactly. Tyrannical feminism.
It was just that point of like, how is that respect to not say that word, right? Because he was telling a story about how he was accosted. Because what he was saying was, no one comes up to me and says shit to me. It happened once, right? Once someone who people who talk all this shit online or whatever, it's like no one actually comes to your face and does that. Because those people who talk shit online, generally that's what they get off on, talking shit online, but they don't have the balls to actually do things in the physical, right? And he was saying it happened once where a woman accosted him and he just like actually spoke with her and she ran off when she realized she wasn't going to be able to change his mind. But she was accosting him specifically about this point of him being racist, right? And he was like, wait a minute. How does me saying a word make me racist? Like, you don't know me, you don't know who my friends are. How come like they can say a word, but
And if I don't say the word, aren't I racist anyways?
Yeah, and
So why can't I just say it?
But here's the really good point that he made. Was like, is there a word that they can say that would have that same effect on you? Like, why are you better than them? Like, you're basically saying you're better than these other people because of special words and all this stuff. It's like, it's just a word.
What's a word that anybody can say to me that I'm going to be like so triggered and so shamed and just immediately just like start fucking plowing fields out of reaction?
Right.
Is that what you do when you're mad, Cam?
There's definitely a word for Cameron.
And it's like, well, but you're white, so you are. Well, I don't want to say you're superior. It's just that you say it in a way where it doesn't just imply that white people are better than black people.
That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying with the word privilege, right? When you're privileged, you're basically saying, well, you have it better.
I'm gonna give everybody. Owen said honky.
White supremacist.
Owen said honky. No, it doesn't.
Megan said
me.
NFT.
It's the word that
Does she mean NPC?
That's the word that triggers Cameron. Crypto is the answer.
Metaverse.
That's so funny. Owen said honky. That's
Metaverse.
fucking hilarious. What is that?
I said metaverse.
Metaverse. No. Okay, hold on. I got this point though, guys. I want to tell you how you can get privilege. Just do
Who
self-forgiveness.
signed me up? I want to know.
Do self-forgiveness on your reactions to the word nigger. Do self-forgiveness on it and let go of your reactions.
Yep.
And guess what? Now you've got privilege. Because you won't react to it anymore.
It's true.
I remember talking to Cameron one-on-one and being like, just being confused like years ago. I'm like, is it like bad to say that? And he was like, what, nigger? I'm like, Cam.
No, that's
He's
not
like-
what I said. I said, what nigger?
but here's the point. He was just like, if you're reacting to a word, period, I don't care what word it is, you have to solve that.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool. Like, it's not about the word. Who cares? Are you reacting? Period. Because that is supporting in everybody else. Oh, it's okay for you to react because I'm reacting, so I'm going to keep that in place for you. You're not supporting any Black person by continuously reacting to that word.
And let's say we make it so that no one can say the word. How does that change the situation of people of inequality?
Right.
It's like, no, let's have words. Let's all agree that there are words you can't say to certain people because it's just so hurtful to them because they just can't,
You can only call slaves winners. You can't say slave. They're all winners. Okay, cool. So everybody's okay with the slavery then. You can't call them a slave.
Right.
Therefore, nobody will feel bad anymore. So everybody will become okay with the slavery.
The S word is going to be the new word. You can't even say slave because it triggers people. You can't talk about slavery. You won't be able to
Perfect.
talk about that. Why?
Dude.
Because we want everyone to be slaves.
Yes.
We,
exactly.
meaning all of us, want each other to be slaves.
Yes.
We want to be a slave. We want other people to be slaves. That's the world that we've created and that we're continuing to create by continuing to accept this whole paradigm of everyone can't just have what they need.
So here's what I see. It's like we're at this form in reality where us as individuals, we've become like teenagers. And we realize we're like, oh, like we can like fuck with shit. And now we're rebelling against our parents. Really, it's ourselves, but we're thinking it's our parents, right? And it's so funny because what does everybody say about teenagers? They're like, oh, they're just hormonal and crazy. And I didn't do anything to create that. But the truth is,
Right.
this is based off our history. And the only way to solve that, and this is for everybody listening to the podcast, the only way to solve your anger towards your parents is by really looking at everything you blame them for. And this is the statement that I was talking about at the very beginning. If you just understand the statement in totality, the old adage that's used throughout sports, it's very simple. You can't get mad at anybody who's wearing a mask, who's not wearing a mask, who's vaccinated, who's not vaccinated, who's racist, not racist, stupid, smart, blah, 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 because you can't hate the player. Hate the game. If you just realize that there is no individual that is acting in autonomy and as a fucking island of their own individual self-will, and the only reason I'm doing everything is because I decided it's the best thing for myself. No one is doing that. Literally nobody is doing that because we are at effect to the system. If your goal is to be free, you don't even know what the fuck that means. Because you don't realize that what you're thinking of when you say free is free of responsibility. But if you're free of responsibility, guess what? That means somebody else is taking the responsibility. You're a slave. Exactly. That's it, period. You're always choosing between responsibility and slavery. We're looking for the people who are willing to hear us say the N-word and be like, I'll still consider what they're saying. Because those people are focused on something bigger than just how they feel. It's true. Right?
Yeah.
Are you focused on the result of what you're here creating every fucking day? Or are you just focused on, I got to take this person out because they said the N-word. I got to take this person out because she said something harmful to me or whatever. That's a bunch of bullshit. There's only one process, in order to let go of your history of blame, so you don't just become a rebellious teenager who has no maturity, who doesn't take any real responsibility. It's called techno tutor, self-forgiveness, and self-corrective application. That last part is really becoming a distributor. The way you correct the things you see in this world is by getting one person and giving them the solution. Because the point I was sharing earlier about when you start talking to people, you realize you cannot change their mind. There's only one thing you can do. You can support them by giving them the solution for them to walk through their own bullshit. And every one of us, the reason why we can talk with so much certainty is because we're doing something that you've never done before, taking responsibility for this world. And we're seeing the physical effect. So we don't just say, oh, education is like vocabulary, because I think that like when you like know words, it makes you smarter. We're not thinking that, we're seeing it with our physical eyes. And every single one of us is the proof of that. Where as you purify your vocabulary, you start being able to let go of the way, like where you see that people have abused you. And look, some of that abuse is real, like it's actually happened. But now if you can hear this, you're at a point where you have to take responsibility. So the only solution is for you to walk this process for yourself, and then 1 + 1, share it with other people. For the distributors, you guys are in a position, a very unique position, where you can create a self-perfected clubhouse event and bring people to that and add people to the global group. Because just so everybody knows, for those people who are on the Techno Tutor call on Friday, there was a very intense situation. Gaetan was facing some personal points for himself. And he was expressing a lot of the emotional pain that he's facing in regards to his relationship and his child. And I'll tell you the most powerful thing when somebody like that, because Gaetan, shout out Gaetan, he's becoming a distributor. He's really taking on this process for real. And this is what real support is, because I actually care and I know what changes. We had a call in the morning on the way to the clubhouse. We talked for about 45 minutes. And about 6 hours later, in the morning, he was telling me that him and his wife, they're thinking about, maybe she's going to go stay somewhere else. A lot of conflict. But 6 hours later, he said, hey, I appreciate the call. I took what you shared and I applied it to myself. It was the point of, there was just some specific points, but it's in a relationship. Whatever you want from your partner, you have to be willing to give it to them. If you want them to be understanding of you, are you even understand what the fuck they're saying? 100%, right? You always have to give more than you take, and then you will get what you want, right? So there was more context to it, but it was so cool because Gaetan is somebody who is actually grateful for having these tools. What does that mean to be grateful in reality? It means you take it and apply it, and you change your relationships with other people. He proved, he said thank you for the call, but then he shared with me how he applied what was shared. And now he's reached a new level of complicity with his partner, and they're going out to a sushi dinner last night. And that just made me actually happy, because happiness is not some self-generated in your room meditating on some shit. It's when you actually share with somebody a real solution and they change because of it. And if we just do that on a one-to-one basis over time, there's no stopping what we can do. So comment for those who were on live. Shout out you guys for participating.
Shout out for like the 18 people that hopped on. We had
Shout out
steady
Christine.
15.
That's pretty good.
C-Champ.
Thank you, C-Champ. Thank you, Christine, for helping out with this. Other than that, join the Facebook group. The global
I would look at this week too, like right in the aftermath of this call, I would just write out for yourself, like, where am I not taking responsibility? Like, you fucking know. You can be honest enough. If you don't have Techno Tutor, you may not know. So that's step one, is get Techno Tutor. And then keep plugging in. There's a lot here, but then go fucking take the responsibility in your life, because no one can do it for you. And you're either going to be a slave or you're going to take responsibility.
Bang. And don't hate the player, hate the game. That was the line. That was it. All right.
Cool. Well, see you Friday.
Podcast
Bye.
history right here, baby. See you later.
Nice.
All right. Bye, everyone.